Welcome back. And in this video, we are going to go through the final steps of completing our custom. We have the painted and clear coated parts here. And I'll freshen your memory here. I hit this with a dull coat, Tester's dull coat, one of the flattest coats you can get. And I only did it with one good solid coating. And you can see there's still a little bit of shine to it, and that's fine because in my mind, that looks just like a factory released toy part. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reassemble the custom. Now, to keep in mind that what's likely going to happen, because some of these parts fit rather tightly, is you're going to get some damage to the paint. In some cases, if you're very gentle but firm, you can get good results. But inevitably, you will eventually find that you will have little paint chips or something like that to deal with. And herein lies the flaw with using hardware store spray paint, is that the colors are not necessarily available in some easily rectifiable format, like a little jar or something like that. And masking that one area to hit it with a spray bomb is possible, but once the parts are assembled, it becomes very labor intensive. Now, an alternative to that, if you still wish to use spray paint, is if you have a hobby store nearby, or you can shop online, is I recommend the Tamiya brand of spray paints. It's meant for model building and RC cars and stuff like that, and I use it often. Their clear coats are actually my preferred clear coats after much trial and error, some of which you experienced in this video series. The reason being is that their colors are available in spray cans and in acrylic paint. So they come in little tiny jars, and you can match the colors from the spray paint to the jar colors. For the most part, I don't remember if there's one or two colors that aren't available, but so far I've had very good luck with that. So if you're going to stay in the spray can world of customizing, I highly recommend the Tamiya brand. There may be other brands out there. I highly recommend you explore to see if you find any substitutes, but for now we'll just say Tamiya is where it's at. So without further ado, let's carry on and put this back together. So we'll start with the cowling and our control wheel, yoke, whatever you want to call it. And we'll just simply snap that back into place. We don't have to be as careful here because this part's unseen, but it never hurts to be cautious regardless. And I'll give you an example. You can see the paint's already lifted here, and this was clear coated. Now, black's an easy, relatively easy color to do. If this was visible, you just dab a little black on there with a Q-tip or a little cheap paintbrush from the dollar store and you'd be fine. But that's going to be hidden, so we're not even worried about it. Next, we'll come in with the combing. So we'll very carefully insert the tab in the reverse order that we disassembled it. And we'll push it in, and I can already feel that it's pretty tight here. So to get these side tabs in, I'm going to squeeze and then I'm going to push in, and we'll see what happens. So here we go. One side at a time. And there we go. So that light down there, you can see I'm blocking it with my finger at the bottom edge of the cowling here. That's not paint chip, that's just light from the gap in the plastic. And we are good to go. Yep, no issues there whatsoever. I'm not going to put this on the body just yet because I'm going to use a part of it. So you can see there's paint removal on the blue, and I'll use that as a quick demonstration for paint touch-ups. Then we have the hull, and you can see how nice the end result is there for the paint. Remember, this was white when we started. And we'll take the skis, and we'll just firmly push those back into place, and there you go. Now we have the skis on. It's a little tighter than it was before too, because now there's layers of paint. There's paint inside the receiving end or the slot for the skis, and there's paint on the skis, so it's a little firmer than it was before. and that's just fine. So now I'm just going to swap some parts around here to try and stay in frame the best I can. Let's move the cowling out of the way. Don't need the seat exactly yet. And now we are going to grab the slide bar. So I'm just going to put this down. Actually, you know what? No, let's connect the treads next. So these are unpainted. So you can see the sheen's pretty close to the same. If you wanted to, you could flat coat this to make it all completely uniform. Like I said, I've honestly not done a spray can custom in a long time, mostly because of the weather. And once I got more comfortable using my airbrush, I switched almost exclusively to that. But that's no problem, and we'll talk about that in a later video. So I've slotted the tab in here, and now we're just going to push here, closing that gap and cinching in the skis, or excuse me, the treads. The satisfying click of success. So now we have the gear on, and we're totally good to go there. And it looks like I left a part outside, so let's give me 2 seconds and I'll be right back. Here we go, left that outside. And it actually needs some paint touch-ups as well. And I'm not worried about it because we knew that was going to happen. So let's reinsert the slide bar, sway bar, whatever you want to call it, back in the hull. And let's take our red cannons and put them back in the reverse order they came. So those 2 posts will face downwards and sit back in their respective slots. And now we got the cannon sitting there, all nice and, I don't know, cool? Couldn't think of a word right there. That'll happen. Now we're going to take our seat. We're going to slide the tab back in the back. Same thing here. There's 2 tabs on either side here, and I'm going to pinch those a little bit because there we go. Just to get them over the edge. If they remove paint down the side, you're not really going to see it. And they didn't anyway, so our clear coat's done its job. And we'll take our engine cover and we'll put that back on. There we go. That's a little firmer too. In the model building world, you normally remove paint from any sort of tabs and slots, just so they don't affect glue adhesion or fit. But we're not too worried about that. Let's put the tow bar back on. And last but not least, well, almost last but not least, let's put the engine cowling back on. Or whatever you want to call that. Because the engine's in the back there with that little cover. But let's certainly not forget these. And there you have it. Our first custom painted and reassembled. So let's talk about any touch-ups that have to be done. In which case, just look over your vehicle, see if there's any spots missing. So there's some stuff there I have to fix, and probably in some other places too. And that's just fine. Black's easy to fix. Oh yeah, look at that, eh? That's no problem. So black's easy to fix. The blue, I happen to find a very close jar of Tamiya paint that I already had. So I'll be able to touch up any parts on the blue I need to touch up. And we can carry on from there. Same thing with the red. I have a red that matches this extremely closely. So we'll be able to do that. So that's really where the rub is that because I build models, I have a lot of different paints. So for me, I just have to go down into my model building room and find those paints. And if I don't find them, I'll go to my local hobby store and pick them up. But the process can be somewhat tedious. So again, we'll have to exercise patience when trying to match colors. If you're just starting out, the reason why I chose this vehicle with these colors is that these are pretty classic Cobra colors. Just to give you an example, if I had decided to paint these skis, let's say a neon green instead of black, they would have looked like the Dreadnought colors that you see on the Thunder machine, or close enough to it. But there's enough vehicles that you can do in these colors for Cobra that if you bought a couple of jars of paint for touch-ups, that you could certainly use those and the spray paint you still have from working on this to do other projects. So that's what I found useful, is that if I think I'm sitting there, if I think I'm spending, why do I have to, if I have to, let's try that again. If I have to spend money on a jar of paint, I know I'm going to do more vehicles in these colors, so it's fine. For those of us operating on an extreme budget, that's the call you have to make, which is why I recommend the Tamiya spray paints, because they're easily matched, so the errors you'll make in matching colors will greatly diminish. And here we have it. So the only thing we have left to do, aside from those touch-ups, and I'll do those off, all you do is just lightly brush on some paint and it'll disappear. Let's do some stickers. Oh yeah, because while the custom looks good painted, it never really comes alive until you put stickers on it. And I've had to, with a few projects, had to wait for special paint to cure, sometimes for over a week. That's with the chrome stuff, and we'll do a video about chroming too. And it just drives me nuts because this looks, I love the way this looks. But it doesn't really come alive until you get stickers on it. And I'll put a couple of links in the description below for where I get my stickers from. Certainly leverage your Facebook groups or any friends you may have that make custom stickers. And there are stores online that will produce anything you want. There are loads of sets of G.I. Joe stickers already. So if I wanted to put Ski-Mobile stickers back on this, I absolutely could order a set of Ski-Mobile stickers, leave off the G.I. Joe stuff, and put on some Cobra stickers. But we're just going to put a couple on here just so you know who this really belongs to. And I'll show you a good technique for applying those. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly jump over to my computer, and I will hold this up next to the concept image of when we first started out this whole processing. We'll see how closely we matched it. So just hang on one sec, and we'll go down to the computer. And there we go. There's the visualization with the actual product itself. And it worked out quite nicely. So there's proof that the visualization process is a handy tool when coming up with a custom design.